Hey, can you come up and advance the slides for me as we need that? Thank you. We've already heard the thank yous for all the groups and the people that have presented this, but thank you again, and thank you for attending. It's very nice to see people that are interested in their county. First slide, please. I'm going to be talking about where we were, where we are, where we're going, and looking ahead. This is a list that I made up soon after I came into office. We had failing buildings. We were about to lose occupancy of buildings. Didn't have policy. You've heard about all this stuff in the newspapers in the last 2 or 3 years. Next slide, please. A famous philosopher, it was either Zig Ziglar or Confucius, I'm not sure, said that if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. That means if you don't focus, you're not going to get it done. You're not going to achieve what you want done. So we prioritized that list, and by we I'm talking about the commissioners, prioritized the list and started taking careful aim at all those issues that were needing to be solved as over and above the normal daily operation of the commission. This is where we are. We now have a new road and bridge facility, new leadership, new location, fully remodeled buildings and facilities, new equipment, and leadership is Clay and Johns. Hold your hands up, guys. Thank you. They are doing a wonderful job out there. And also, back up, please. On the bottom of that, it says, all done with cash with no added debt. Everything I'm going to talk about today was with cash and budget flow, no added debt. We don't do debt. Go ahead. Now, we bought new equipment and updating the road and bridge. The big excavator on one side, this is a replacement for a backhoe here and a high lift loader. We've just done wonderful things and efficiencies. Over the past many years, the road and bridge had a high of 46 people. Now there are 31. And part of it is because of better equipment, part of it is because of leadership, part of it is because our people are motivated and have a high work ethic, and they want to get their job done well. We have new accounting software. We went to all the first-class counties of Missouri, found out that the Tyler system was what they typically used. And we adopted that system, bought it, and now have our people trained. And it's a vast improvement over what we used to be. It used to be that the software was old and out of date, and a lot of the paper ledgers were still being used. You can't search a paper ledger. Now, if I need a report on how much fuel we used last year, I can get it within minutes and tell the distribution of that fuel, where it went. If I want to know how we're doing on utilities for the year so far, I can find that out almost immediately. So it's wonderful compared to the old system. Now, that system isn't perfect. Bridget Smith, a part of Louis Cyberlick's office in the auditing office, found a glitch in that Tyler system. It turned out that people that worked in the Tyler system could make changes to data that we had entered. So it's nice to know that, and they're working on it. I don't think it's solved yet, but we're watching it. We don't know that any changes were made, but Bridget noticed that it could be done. Yes. And thanks to the budget police, or the auditors, we're doing very well in our annual budget. These are actual expenditures for the year compared to budgeted amounts. Now, in 2017, we spent 14% under what we had budgeted for expenses. In 2018, it was at 11% under. And this is experience levels, but the next slide will show you what, this is projection because it's 2019 now, and we don't know. Well, I can tell you that we've projected income of 2019 of $30 million. We projected expenses of $24 million, or just under, for a $6 million safety factor. Also, we routinely estimate our income low and our expenses high. So this is probably a very safe figure. Our sales tax levels are going up slowly but surely. It's about a 1% per year increase. And based on that $10 million we typically get, that is about $100,000 a year gain. Now, it's not free money because all the money we get on sales tax comes off of your property tax. It's a rollback from the old Hancock Amendment. Your general revenue tax now is about 6 cents per $100 valuation. It has been 30 cents, but because of the sales tax revenue, you're paying a great deal less on that. You don't notice it because as county collector, our county collector is also a collector for all the cities, all the school districts, the college, the health, seniors, various other communities. So that money comes in, thank you to all those big checks you write every year, and she immediately hands that out to these other groups. It's just a pass-through accounting. So the part we keep is really rolled back. We could probably cancel it and you wouldn't notice it. Go ahead. We now have an organized IT department. When I started, there were 3 people that were working on computers in buildings, all been hired by different groups and different departments, and they weren't really coordinated. They had different skilled experiences and different factors of computer maintenance. So when that senior member retired, the commission created a new IT department and hired his replacement with the eye of heading up that department. Now we have a phone number and an email address, and anytime there's a glitch, you contact that through that source. And I say that once I hit send, there's somebody standing at the door. The response is nearly immediate, and I'm thrilled with their quality of work. Reserve funds. We are building reserve funds. We've been working on the General Stabilization Fund. It used to be called Emergency Fund, but there was a technical issue with calling it that, so we changed the name to General Stabilization Fund. Our $2 million goal is our planned cap in that. At the end of the year, it was $2.188 million. That extra $188,000 we will probably apply to long-term debt in April when that note is callable. That note is from the building of the annex building back in '04. Road and Bridge is working on a couple of funds to build up for their emergencies. These funds are necessary. In the last snowstorm, we lost a dump truck. That dump truck is $163,000 replacement cost. We are insured, but that dump truck had 250,000 miles on it, and it was only insured value of $42,000 or so. So we're going to have to come up with $1/8 to replace that truck. Other counties, that means curtailing services or going into debt. We will write a check because we've planned this ahead this well. We were told recently at a conference that the age-old BRO program, which is federally funded, state-regulated, state set up, that the counties are paid an 80-20 grant for building bridges. That's gone away. But we kind of spotted that a few years back, and we went into a bridge building frenzy to get all the money out of that we could. We could do that because we had the 20% that we need to do that. Other counties didn't have the 20%, they lost the 80%. So they don't have the bridges or the 20%. We also are concerned about the possibility of what I call a Joplin scale disaster, a tornado, earthquake, any of those things that could shut us down. It's important that the county remain in business. The ambulance, the sheriff, the fire departments really can't go out until these guys have cleared the roads. They can do it, but it's tough. So in short term, with the floods and all that, we need to stay in business. So that's why we need to be able to do all these things with these reserve funds. We received that wonderful gift from Parkland Health Center and BJC, the building on Weber Road. It is now approaching full occupancy. If you see the wording in green, that means that it's occupants of the building that create income. It's rented property for us. And that income is used to offset the cost of operation of the entire building, utilities, insurance, maintenance. And it's pretty well working out that way. Now in the blue are offices we've moved out to reduce congestion of our other buildings. And that keeps growing. There's more transactions all the time. There's more activity going on all the time. Our county is growing. There's a constant, steady pressure on our office space. So we've moved those as we could out to the new facility, and it's really reduced congestion in other parts. Where we're going. Now that our facilities are improved, our buildings are, I believe, in the best condition collectively they've ever been in. And we have software systems and that moving and increasing. Now it's time to work on our systems and our procedures. Now we're going to be finalizing the change in our morgue pretty soon. For the last year and a half, we've been buying equipment and materials to supply our own morgue and operate our own morgue. Believe it or not, you can't go down to the hardware store and buy morgue equipment. My PowerPoint, I looked at that and you can't do it. And it's taken months and actually a year or two to get all that equipment put together. But and also for budget control and for evidence control, we're going to be doing this. For evidence control, we want to set up a system that is highly secure, and we have that in the building now. We want to set up a system in which the chain of custody of any questionable death situation is maintained. So with our new setup, everyone entering that building will be recorded and will be there for a specific reason. So we're going to do that, and also budget control, because our bodies are now being stored in rented space, and the extra transportation of that will be cutting out many, many thousands of dollars per year in cost. Okay. Now, we have a problem with definition of a morgue. Everybody seems to think that's where you go get the autopsies done. By definition, a morgue is a place with for temporary storage of a dead human body. I did not mention autopsies in that, but people think that's what you do. Our morgue, our new location, will have a coroner's office. Next to that is a morgue where we store and maintain those bodies. And then next to that is the autopsy suite that we rent out to a private company. And it's a blessing that that private company is located in our county. It saves us a tremendous amount of funds of transportation to, say, St. Louis for autopsy. But it's also the dignity and the comfort of the families of those deceased. If you had to go to St. Louis, they were already backed up. It would take sometimes months to get a death certificate. You can't do any kind of family planning or anything like that without that death certificate. So just having it here is a tremendous asset. We make some money on the rental of that space, but it's very beneficial to us otherwise. Go ahead. We're going to continue security of all of our facilities. And that's not all I'm going to say about that. We intentionally don't talk about our security system. And you say, well, we're not St. Louis, we're not Kansas City, we're not Chicago, we're not New York. Why is security in our property so important? February 6th, just a few days ago, a man, armed weapon, tried to get into our courthouse. He was apprehended, and the reason we apprehended him is because we have some highly skilled people with excellent training, and now they have excellent equipment. And we did not become a headline. And in this situation, not become a headline is a success. That's not the only armed intruder we've ever had in our downtown buildings. It probably won't be the last. We hope we'll maintain the success ratio we have. Now you understand why I don't tell you what we've done with security. Standby power. We now have standby power at the jail, at the new Road and Bridge facility, and at the Weber Road facility. We don't have it downtown yet. I've already made friends with the people in the Federal Surplus Center in Jefferson City, and I'm first on the list of getting 3 real good military surplus 100 kW generators. And so as soon as we can get those, and maybe Patrick can work on a grant on that, and get that done, we'll get that in. And again, we've got to stay in business as a county, and being able to pump fuel, to keep our payroll records going, to keep all the stuff going is very important for the operation of the county. As long as the legislature meets every day, we will have to update our policies. So that's an ongoing thing. We are now rebuilding, or we've got bids out to rebuild the courthouse elevator. A little bit later, I'll talk about the windows in the courthouse. But that's a convenience and economic issue. The elevators are an ADA compliance and a safety issue. And so that took precedence, so we're doing that first. And again, hopefully Patrick can work on a grant for that. Increased personnel training, just a short list of things we need to work on, and we'll be done. As soon as we got an IT department, they started working on changing our website to a more friendly situation. That is done now, and now we're going to shift over to content of that website. In the short order, we hope to have it where you can go to our website and you can find out all about absentee voting, voter registration, building permit application. Maybe you can download the forms to do that. Maybe you need the schedule, you need the cost, all that stuff. That'll be on our website. And then, see Jay Graff's here. I think he wants to do that on his recorder's office. So we'll be doing through the offices and upgrading our website so it'll be much more customer friendly for us people. Looking ahead, we will soon be naming an emergency management director. Would you believe that none of our buildings, as far as I can find, has ever had an emergency evacuation plan? I don't know that any of them. I think the Road and Bridge has a defibrillation device, but that's the only one I know of. Maybe the jail has one. But there's no system. We don't have that. We don't have any kind of inspection program. So we're going to be doing that. And then after that, we'll be looking at naming a floodplain administrator position. That's another thing that's needed, and we've kind of been looking over past it all in the history of mankind. Courthouse windows need to be upgraded. I talked about how that's a lower priority than the elevators, but that's going to be done as soon as Patrick can get a grant on it. Yeah, Patrick, hang in there, Patrick. We've divided this work up among ourselves, and I'm glad Patrick's there. We call him our initial man. If there's a CMO RPC or a TAC meeting or anything like that, if it comes in, if the return address has got an acronym on it, I hand it to Patrick automatically. So, but various office spaces, we do have constant growing pressure on office space. If you remember, back until 2006, all of the downtown offices were in the courthouse. Then they built the annex building, and that was wonderful. But now they're being filled up. I'm having to move people around to get better space utilization, and we still have some tightness. And with the increasing use of just business, with a growing population, with more and more transactions being done every day, we're going to have more people. Now, overall employment trends show that we're about static on total employees since the year 2000. We're at 188 now. But I just said we have constant growing need of more people in the offices. That's true. By increasing the efficiency of the road and bridge, they've actually cut back 15 people in that time. But those 15 people have been replaced necessarily by people that are doing the office space. On a road and bridge person, you hand them a truck and a shovel and send them to wide open spaces. Office people, you have to provide a desk and a covered atmosphere. So it's a different atmosphere and different need. So we'll be looking ahead for space allocation, doing different things like that, and just working to maintain business to suit the customer, the county resident. Patrick is going to come up and talk about something he's been working on for a long, long time. And I think he'd be proud of it.
Is it a grant?
No, not yet. Thank you, Harold. Thank you for having us. We commissioners did a little project back in November of 2015. We named 37.57 acres that was deeded to St. Francis County Commissioners back in May of 1973. And that property is called Bowenhole. I'm sure all of you know where that area is at, so next slide. We're doing a little project down there. You can see this is a railroad bed / dam. The federal agencies call it a dam. We call it a railroad bed. And these are leftover mine tailings. It was 44 feet tall, close to 150 yards long. Carl R. Jones out of Fredericktown, they're doing the excavated project that was awarded by Missouri DNR. This project cost around $764,000 and is not paid by St. Francis County taxpayers' money. Furman Deloge, the founder of Deloge, he built this railroad bed, and under this railroad bed is a spillway. Up here are the initials DCLCO, Deloge Consolidated Lead Company. They're going to repair the spillway. What we envision in the future at this county park is a trail leading down to this spillway. And this is the wetland that flows out. So we've got big hopes for that little area. These are the ute trucks carrying the tailings over about a mile away from the site to the Deloge repository. The Deloge repository consists of close to 600 acres. Next slide, please. This is a rare savanna glade, the rock croppings. Again, this sets at one of the highest points in Bowenholme. Next slide. This is a back gate. This was fabricated by our Road and Bridge Department. Early on, this was a wide open area. Getting with the attorney, we were liable for that. And just happened to know that there are a few bats in that area. So we had some volunteers from Missouri DNR. They came in, didn't charge us a dime. They found 2 species of bats, and they're not threatened. I tried and tried and tried. I tried to look for Indiana bats, can't find them. And EPA does not like that. Couldn't find any threatened or endangered bats, but this was fabricated by our Road and Bridge Department, and we spent about $2,600 on the material, and that kind of got us in more good graces with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So by us showing that we're going to put a little bit of, ingenuity and, cause and jest into the project, we're more apt to fund you on larger projects. So this was in the bigger picture. The project for Carl R. Jones, $764,000, on top of Missouri, EPA, and DNR going to award a couple $100,000 to the area for reclamation projects, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So this is a good thing, and we keep it closed. We had to open it the other day because of the influx of water. This is a horizontal mine shaft that goes, it's almost a quarter-mile long under the landfill. It's got another opening with another similar gate built by our Road and Bridge Department. Next slide, please. This is just an area. You can see the big trucks on the left hauling the dirt. 40 tons the truck weighs, with another 40 tons of contaminated tailings. This is just, that's a truck, and then here are you can't see it, but these are 2 to 3 foot ruts. So that's one of the main reasons why we had to close Bowenholme down. Next slide, please. This is the repository where they're dumping the contaminated lead tailings from the railroad bed. EPA likes to have the lead tailings under 500 parts per million. These are anywhere from 8,000 to 16,000 parts per million, so highly contaminated. This is on the 600-acre repository site. Next slide. This is just an overview. Here's the picture of the dam. That's the road going down to Big River. The back gate, it's located over here. Like I said, the spillway there. So big plans, 37.57 acres. Next slide. This is the bluff. You all probably remember when you were young. I know I did. I jumped off of it, wasn't supposed to, but yeah. So here, there used to be a swinging bridge from here to the other side, and that was the old Prather farm. Currently, Mr. Weibel owns that property over there, but there was a swinging bridge, and that's how Jimmy Prather and his siblings got to school every day. So that's now, and this is where we're wanting to go in the future, a bluff overview look. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the gate. We've already got the gate up, but we envision a deck with educational opportunities, so describing of the species and types like that. Next slide. This is just a picture of the glade. Envision a walking trail up there, maybe a nice one. There are grants out there that the federal government puts together. They're an 80-20 match, so we would let the federal agencies give us $80,000. We can put 20 with it. You can get a nice trail for $100,000. Next slide, please. That's where we're at. In 2016, Missouri saw 40 million visitors. 16 million of those visitors visited Missouri state parks. That's a lot of revenue into the state. So we want to keep that going, and we want to make Bowenholme the next #1 park. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. I know you're off today, but please go work on the grant.
The ultimate test when you've done something is to look back after it's completed and you say, would I do that again? No. I mean, would I go back to where I was? No, I would not. Let me be more clear. No, I would not go back to where we were 4 or 5 years ago. Next slide. I've had lots of wonderful help in getting this done. My fellow commissioners, Wilkinson and Mullins, have been a wonderful team to work with. You've met John and Clay. They've done a great job at the Road and Bridge. Brian Briley is a genius with a mop. I tell you, the guy is good. He came up with an idea the other day that we're already moving on making some changes on, and serious changes in our office distribution, and it'd be great. And he said, why don't you do this? Morgue director is Dana Shue, and she's going to get more busy by the moment. And Dan Duncan is our IT director. He's wonderful. We have another large group of elected officials and county employees. They're all great people. It's wonderful to be surrounded by smart people. But you gotta listen to them. You gotta hear what they're talking about. And we're trying to do that. I've had other help in doing what we do. Some would consider it illegal. There'd be a few people who won't be removed from office when I am going to tell you what that help is. When I get in trouble, I pray, and that's considered improper by a lot of circles. This story happened probably June of 2017. We had just taken ownership of the Weber Road building, and it was a Friday morning, and I was out at the Weber Road facility. I won't say I was helping them, but I was actually watching them clean up and getting ready to remodel the building from medical office buildings into a business office building. My phone went off, and I was told that the cook stove at the juvenile detention center had failed. I said, well, get in a appliance person and have them fix it. And they said, well, we did that. And he wrote across the face of his invoice, do not repair, unit is dangerous. Now, it's Friday morning. It's a house residency of 15 teens. I've never seen a teenage boy. The only time I've ever seen a teenage boy wasn't hungry is while he's eating. And here we had no cook stove. I had no idea where I was going to get a commercial cook stove on a Friday morning. Is there one in Missouri? Is there one in this part of the United States? The cost hadn't even occurred to me yet. Just, how am I going to handle this one? What can go wrong with 15 people with anger management problems that are hungry? So I fell into my reserve mode and started praying, walked out of that building and moped around and prayed finally. Somehow, safely, I wound up across Weber Road without getting run over by a truck. And I walked into the old Mental Area Regional Medical Center building. They were working over there. Walked into the building, and there stood Bob. I had met Bob during the transition of the property, and he is the only person on the face of the earth that has authority to dispense surplus equipment from Barnes Hospital. Everybody else would have to go to Bob or get a committee meeting or something, but Bob can say, yeah, you can have that. So I walked up to Bob. I said, Bob, in any of your warehouses in the city, do you have a commercial cook stove? He said, no. But there's one around the corner we're taking out of here today. He said, if I don't have to store it, and if I don't have to haul it, the county can have it. Do you want it? And I'm thinking, yes. I hadn't even seen the thing yet. Walked around the corner, and you know that toothpaste commercial, this beautiful woman smiling, and that flash of light comes off her tooth? That whole stove was glowing like it had a halo. It was a cast iron cook stove, but it was beautiful. So Bob said, by the time, for liability reasons, I've got to get my people to unhook it. If you get your people in to move it, I'll call Clay. In about 15 minutes, we wouldn't have had to move the stove. We could have lifted the building off the stove. It had that much muscle there. And so Bob's guys were undoing that cook stove. One of them looked up to Bob and he said, what about that oven? You want us to unhook it while we're here? Bob said, yeah. He looked at me and said, same price. You can haul it, you can have it. I said, okay, put it on the trailer. I don't know, no idea. Our guys left, went to the juvenile detention center to hook up the stove and deliver it. I stayed around and thanked Bob profusely, probably on my knees, bowing before him. But it was, he's a big cream user, so we had a lot to talk about. But in the tail end of that conversation, my phone went off. Road and Bridge guys, and they said, the stove is a perfect set-in. It's already hooked up, they're already cooking on it, they love it. Small kitchen, there's no room in the world for this oven. Can't use it. I said, okay, leave it on the trailer, we'll park it inside, and we'll figure out Monday what to do with the oven. I'm usually the first one in the annex building in the mornings, one of the first. Gary's employee, Mary, sometimes beats me, and, but there's 2 or 3 of us that tied for first place. And I was there very early. In walks Sheriff Dan Bullock. And I've never seen Dan that early. He usually goes to his office, gets everything straightened out, and then he comes out into the real world. Dan walks in, he said, I hate to run your week this way, but he said, our oven in the jail won't light this morning. And he said, it's an old unit, I hate spending more money on it. I knew if I looked at Dan, I would cry. So I just kept my head down, called Road and Bridge, and said, take the oven to the jail. Dan walked out. I think eventually I told him what had happened, but anyway. We had an age-old cook stove and an age-old oven and built different buildings used by different people with different demands, failed at the same weekend, and the weekend Bob was there. And the weekend Bob had those 2 units coming out of that building. How could that have happened? I learned 3 things that day. There absolutely is God. He likes us, and he's got a wonderful sense of humor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harold. At this time, Dr. Ryan Long. Mr. Former. Oh, we'll do it later.
We want Ryan.
Come on, Yancy.
Sorry, Yancy.
Backwards, I'm supposed to delegate. Mr. Gallagher, do you want these? Because I can use them.
They're throwaways, just use
They won't be when I'm done. Your cell phone go with me too?
No.
Okay. First off, I want to echo some of the comments. I don't have any slides prepared because I think maybe, 1, I wasn't prepared enough, but 2, you'll pay a little more attention because you won't be able to look there and read it. But I want to echo what he said. One of the reasons that I can get up here and talk about our school system and all the successes we have is because my priorities when I came were always Lord first, then your family, and then the school system. You can ask any of my employees. That's what I go by. And so it's encouraging to hear that. And that's one of the reasons we have the successes we have in this county is because we deal with a lot of Christian people. And Christian people care. And that's what you have in your school system, is you have a lot of people who actually care. And it makes for a wonderful place to work. Now, most of you, probably everybody in the room knows, I'm a short timer. But there's several of us that are short timers in your St. Francis County schools. Stacy Stevens at West County will be retiring this year, and Dr. Mayberry at Central Schools will be retiring this year. So the face of the school systems will change. But you know what's nice and comforting about that when you come to one of these kind of meetings, and I'm not big involved in all the chambers, but I am very interested in the business community, is that the schools of St. Francis County are supported by you, by the chambers, by the businesses. And then, I was speaking earlier on the radio, and I said that what people see and hear so many times is at the football game. They hear the ads at the football game, or the businesses have spoken up for this or that, and I don't stand still well. And so what they don't see is that the business community and the taxes that are supplied and all the other programs we have that are very successful, like the young ladies that you saw here this morning, who only came when they found out they were getting meat free. Isn't that amazing? Teenage girls, they just pick, and they don't pick it. Did you see them go through the line when nobody was watching? Yeah, it's impressive. But what I want to say about the business community is that we do a lot of things besides the sports. And those are supported by businesses as well. We're exceptionally successful academically. We're at the top of the charts in our choir programs. Our band program is beyond. Our Raiderettes are headed to the national competition and have been state champions. A lot of our lost count of times. So we do all those things because of the support of the business community. And everybody says I operate on assessed valuation of property taxes. I do. But my assessed valuation only went up to $164 million last year, which was only a 2.01% increase. Very slow growing assessed valuation for North County schools. Others are growing at a fast rate. But the school still continues to be able to provide wonderful opportunities to do things because our tax base is you. You know, and you employ the people and provide the opportunities that the people who pay property taxes support the schools. And so it's a dependency network. And I think too many times we lose sight of that. And actually sometimes it even becomes adversarial. It's like the business community is struggling with the public side, and the public side is struggling with the community itself, the members. And I appreciate hearing Mr. Gallagher say something about tax rate, because most people don't have a clue how tax rates work. The tax rate for North County schools is $442.36. Has been for 9 years. Anybody know that? We haven't changed our taxes, and all the things we've built and done like that, we've done that through, we get to points where we can do no tax increase bond issues, which means that we have some debt coming off, and everybody always has this mindset, well, if we don't vote for that, our taxes will go down. So let me tell you as a standing superintendent, no, they will not. You'll take the debt off, I will immediately move it over to the operating levy, which I have a lot more latitude to spend it on, and continue to operate the school. But long term, what's in my best interest is a static, solid tax base that the business community can support. Everybody in here is a better, higher taxpayer than you are as an individual, as your business. That's a known fact. So let me say some things about the school system that your tax dollars have provided for you. Okay, first off, I was supposed to do introductions. That's at the bottom of my sheet. I wrote my notes, I wrote them upside down. Now I'm going to blame that on Joan because my printer's running the other way. It's weird. You put the paper in and everything comes out back in. Okay. School board members for North County. I know we have one. Did anybody else slip in I didn't see? Ms. Hickman, you want to stand up? We have a sitting school board member, Donna Hickman. Donna has elected not to rerun. Her time is actually shorter than mine. So she's a short timer. Former North County school board members. I see a few. Come on, Paul, act like you're interested. Paul Williams. Lisa Umfleet, who is actually currently on the MAC board. Any other school board members? Or any of you school board members in other school districts? We need to talk later, because I'm always wanting to cause problems somewhere else. So here's some of the things that I think are interesting for your school district. North County School District has 279 certified staff members. We actually have close to 290, but we don't have all these that are alternative to the part-time. All right, we service, according to this on the books, we're about 3,004 students. But Bismarck has 50 teachers, Central has 170, Farmington has 327, and West County has 97, for a total of 923 certified employees in St. Francis County. Okay, if you take, we all have an average of about 61% of classified staff to support that. Some of us more, some of us less. But that's 1,477 employees in St. Francis County. That's 1,477, for the most part, resident taxpayers that are dependent on the things that you do as chambers of commerce for my district to be successful. And we're appreciative of that, but never underestimate your support of the school systems for what they return to the county, for what they provide you an opportunity, and most importantly, for the product that we're turning out that will be the community that you serve, and hopefully someday will sit in the chairs that you sit. Because if they're not properly prepared, things like this won't happen. And they're good. I got some people, you know, it's nice to come into a room where you have some friendly faces, and in here I'm figuring I got maybe 2. Of course, I had 5, but the 3 girls left. Okay? But, you're laughing. You advocate, but I'm a bad mouth too. I go to church with Clay Copeland. Wonderful person. Hardworking, great to know that he works with the county. By the way, the guy can sing your ears off. You ever heard Clay sing? Yeah. Wow, he should have done the national anthem, but he always ducks out. Okay? What I know when I deal with people like that is I know, and I don't know all of you well, but I know Clay, and Clay's representative for me of what I deal with. And so what I feel like I deal with when I deal with, I know Dave well. Our kids have played ball together. We've done things. Dealt with Dan, Brian. Terry Cole, wonderful Christian person, who my son would run through a wall for. And the reason he thinks that is not because he was the football coach. It's because the quality of person that Terry is. And so look at your representation here this morning as the chambers come together. Yeah. Mr. Aubuchon took it upon himself to do the tailgating thing this year. We have a backpack program. We send food home with over 100 kids every week because they don't have anything to eat. That's a part of your North County community. That's a part we don't see much. That's a part that everybody who, when I make a decision on whether or not we're going to have school, I'm 50% wrong every time. Every time. But you have to understand that I have a significant population without going to school, won't eat, won't have a clean restroom to get in, may not have a warm home. You have a transient population here that drives out of here, a lot of them for employment. They're going to work, whether somebody's there to take care of that child or not. So we try to feed them. Then you have people like Mr. Aubuchon, who takes it upon himself to have tailgating at our football games, which was a huge success, by the way. I kind of took advantage of the situation. They were only taking $5 donations. I had 4 hamburgers. It's all proportional, you know what I'm saying? But the point is this. He wasn't asked to do that. How many people took part in that came to a North County football game? Sure you did, if you're from North County. And do you realize that the things that happen around that are because of a business community we have who was supportive of what he did? I understand a lot of things happened. He didn't go out looking, that just happened. And that's because of groups of people like you. North County schools are the beneficiary of that. We want you to know that we appreciate it, but we want you to know that we appreciate it more so for the students that you affect than just the school district. Because the school district is doing very well, and so now I'm going to brag. We have something called an APR, an Annual Performance Report. This is our report card as a school district. I have all the scores here from the St. Francis County Schools. I have them all from the MAAA conference. We're talking about St. Francis County, right? So let me just tell you where we ranked. This is the quality of school systems that you have in this county for people to move into, to be a part of your business. Bismarck, 88.6% out of 100% scale. That's pretty good. Little old Bismarck. All we got's a train station. They don't have any trains. Move up, the next one you got, going up the list. Central Park Hills, 94.6 on a 100-point scale. You think the support of the business community is doing any good in Park Hills? You're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Farmington, 96.7% on the APR. It's more and more difficult to do that as you get to be a larger and larger school. You deal with more things. West County, 97.9% success rate on the APR. Now, Stacy Stevens and I are good friends, but he wears purple. That bothers me a little bit. He's very masculine. If you know the Stevens, they fight this microphone stand. I mean, all the way from the oldest one to the youngest one. But that's exceptional, 97.9% at West County. Now, at North County, your tax dollars are doing pretty good, and we're doing okay. 99.6% was the APR score for the North County students. We're trying to turn you out an exceptional product for these communities. But the reason I say that, and they always, when you're the host district and you're having this chamber meeting, they want you to talk about your school. But I'm just one school in St. Francis County. You have outstanding schools in St. Francis County. And we all need to be a part of that whole thing. It can't just be about North County. When we go to the ball game, I'm going to have on blue and gold. And if we got on black and gold, I'm not your friend. That's just the way it works. Now, after the game's over with, I may be seen eating at Applebee's with friends. The Sylvies are good friends of ours. Chad and Colton play ball together, so we go to Pasta House and I build in. But I always go in and make sure I have on something that says NC or has a Raider head on it. That does not get you a discount at Pasta House in Farmington. But what it does say is that all these communities, even though we have these challenging or adversarial relationships at some point, it still comes together as a group, and the school systems are at the heart of that. As 1,500 of your county employees, well-paid employees, taxpayers, they spend the majority of that money in St. Francis County. And so they're supporting you by you supporting us. And it's a really good relationship. We have some wonderful business partners. First State Community Bank for us here in Bonne Terre couldn't be any better. Mr. Kevin Cook's in the back. Stand up, Kevin. Let me see what you're wearing. Look at this. There we go. I have to tell the quick story on Kevin. Kevin's been a great business partner, but he's a crook. He's a bank tech. You got the old crook eating there in the back, the bald-headed guy in the back, SP Jim. So they transferred crookship from him to Kevin. So we're wanting to do a leasing program so I can be wise with our funds as well to school. And school buses are expensive, about $109,000 a pop, if they're not special education buses. We go through about 3 a year. We have a bus fleet of 36. We carry about 40 buses because you have to have some spares. Getting to where I couldn't afford them. Need a lease program. Kevin says, I go to Kevin with this idea. He says, yep, we can help you out. We can set that right up. First State Community Bank's thinking about having their own leasing program. And they did. And they brought me the proposal. And this guy, everybody see that sweatshirt? Turncoat. What was the name of the first leasing program the First State was going to use? Black Knight Leasing. So, hey, I'm a good, honest guy. I was transparent to the kiddo, right? So I go into Kevin and I say, I won't take that to the school board. It's a great lease deal, and I appreciate it, but we're not going that route. So we changed that, and he had a leasing program for us. Your school district in North County can afford to rotate its buses and keep good, safe buses under our kids because First State Community Bank became a partner with us and offered me the opportunity to have a leasing program when I couldn't afford them. Those are the kind of things that go on around here. We do some things to try to keep people in place for you. That this gentleman sitting to my right, Dr. Ryan Long, who's our new high school principal, he's been at the high school forever. He's a North County boy all his life, but he's now actually sitting in the seat where he's the guy everybody hates. And I love to see a young person go through that because I've been through every step of it. Dr. Long does an excellent job, but he came up with a program because we had kids falling through the cracks. The kids that Mr. Gallagher talks about down at the Juvenile Detention Center, probably most of those are ours. We don't want those kids in that juvenile detention center. All right, we want them in school. Our mission is to get them through school so they're a contributing member to our county. But that doesn't work for everybody. Things happen. It's life. But Dr. Long is caring enough that he came up with a program. We call it READ, R-E-A-D. It's the Raider Educational Alternative Diploma. A different way to get your diploma than attending regular classes. We have night school. We have after school. We have our own alternative school. That man came up with the plan. I didn't do any of that. I just sat in the seat and said, you know what? That saves some of my kids. We're all about it. So I took some of your tax dollars. We put the program in place. And our success rate has been phenomenal. Our graduation rate has gone through the roof because he's saving those kids. Now, the funny thing about that is some of those kids, when you get them turned around, are some of the best kids you have to go out in the workforce and work for you because they genuinely feel like they've been given a second chance. And so they become community members that are committed to the community because they feel like the community did something for them. And that's what I want you as a business group today. And more than focusing on the accomplishments of North County School, we could go through all kinds of things we do, and I can blow our horn. But what we have is a good relationship with you. Our Deloge Chamber, our Bonterre Chamber, wonderful to work with. When we actually have a need, they're there. You're always there for us. But I want you to understand that a lot of the things that people aren't going to see are things that you have made possible. Not just the football field, not just how we did in the basketball gym, not just how we'll play on the baseball field this spring. The fact that my facilities are in excellent condition are because of you, the business community. The fact that when I need something or I have trouble with Raider Road, Patrick makes sure that happens. We've been given special favors. I can make a phone call, or one of my department people can. We're having trouble with the road, or we need something, and it gets done, which helps us operate more efficiently. I can tell you, I've been in the Boot Heel region, and by the way, they say people in the South are a lot more friendly, and if they know you, they are. You get that? But what I found here is that we didn't have in a lot of places where I've been other places, particularly when I was employed and working around the Cape Girardeau areas. We have a relationship with county officials that you can actually call one of them, they actually answer the phone, and then they talk to a real person. And then they help you out. So you have something here that doesn't go on in a lot of places. I got something going on with the city of Bonterre I could do. I can get hold of Sean. I see Sean at the ball game, but when he's not screaming at the referees, and you get him calmed down a little bit, you can ask him a question, you get an answer, or I'll look into it and I'll get back to you. Dan Bryan's been in my office. They share and allow us to use ball fields over there, and we work with him. You are a group of business people that have some wonderful school systems. Not just North County. Now, I think North County is the best. I'm always going to think that. I got a kid who's never known anything but this school system. I think he got a wonderful education. If you look at our Hall of Fame, by the way, anytime you come to an event that's indoors at our high school, go in the auditorium and look. We have all the pictures up. We started a North County Hall of Fame. There are some people in that Hall of Fame that have done exceptional things that came from this community. This community turns out winners. And you're a big part of that. And you don't realize that a lot of times. You're worried about what things are happening in the business world and how things are working, but what you're failing to see is that by being committed to what you do, you're assuring a future for these communities that's going to be successful. And that's a very important piece, because what happens to communities who don't ensure that they have a future? I was superintendent at Zenith Hornersville, little bitty district in Bootsville. Actually, I was 3.5 miles south of the Arkansas line, tucked around in under the boot heel below Kenton, Missouri. When I was superintendent there, as I left, we had a 16 to 18% Hispanic population, bilingual. Only about 14% didn't speak English. Now they're at 40-some% of Hispanic. And I went back, as we do sometimes for people I met there, a wedding or a funeral, and you make the trip back, and the businesses that were on Main Street, except for the florist shop, Casey's, and the dollar store, are gone. That community is not what I knew. It's not what my child knew. It's not what anybody knew. Because the business community didn't stay strong. What's happening to the school system? They're struggling. And so don't ever sell yourself short on what it is that you do. You're a chamber board member, and you think, well, we're making decisions, we're trying to do things to improve the business community. It's no big deal, we're working with the other business people. That's not true. That's not true. Everything revolves around the business community. Everything revolves around how successful we allow people around us to be. Sure, we're all jealous. You know, I want to ask, why did I read the scores in the order I did? Because I wanted to be the guy on the top of the list. Praise the Lord, this year we were, next year we may not be. But my point is this, everybody wants to be successful. But the best way to have success is to make those around you successful. You know, that was a wonderful verse that you took out of Proverbs. And Solomon was a very wise man. Obviously not a school superintendent. But if you take what Solomon said and you apply that to anybody in this room, I'll apply it to me personally. And Solomon tells you, you know, you get wiser as you get older. And here's what I found about it. I know less now probably, or here's what I have. I have enough sense to realize I know less now than I did 29 years ago when I started. And that's the same way it is for you in the business world. The longer you're involved, the more you realize you don't have it all figured out. You have to follow the lead of what the Lord has for you in your life. But in doing so, He wants you to reach out and help people around you. Even if it's competitive. Even if it's dollars and cents. When you make businesses around you better, you strengthen the county. And we struggled, we fought, everybody wanted first class, wanted to be a first class county. Why? What was wrong with being a third class county? What was wrong with being a second class county? Are there more advantages for a first class county than there are for the others? You betcha. And so what you do as a business community with your school systems, this is what I would ask of you. Always keep an open eye to what you can do to enable, encourage, or help a school system, because we draw families to the area. One of the first things they check, they go in, they get that property tax receipt, and say, where are my taxes paid? What school district is that house in? Here's the great thing in St. Francis County. Any district they pull is going to be between 88 and 99% efficiency on the APR. I would venture to say, and I started to pull all the data this morning, I thought I'm not going to go through the whole state thing and look at it, it's ridiculous. I don't think there are. You can't find an area to move into like this. Do we have the best housing in the world for them? No. Everybody says, you got a prison sitting right here in your back door. Well, I live about a quarter mile from the prison. For those of you who don't know, I live over here right outside Bonterra. You know, if anybody broke out, my garage is the first stop. I've never had a problem. You know what that prison is? That prison is a tremendous employer. You know what that prison is? That prison is something solid that's not going anywhere, because that's a portion of the world that will always be there. We have some real advantages in this county that I want you to understand that the school systems are appreciative of, and we know that you're working to keep them, but I want you to keep this inside fact, that if you'll help those around you and you'll continue to have things like this, As I drift off into the sunset, I want to know that these things continue to go on. And I want to know that there's a mindset that they want to see the county continue to grow and improve. Because in my heart, I know that my school system will benefit from what you as county leaders do. Don't set yourself in a room like this and think you're a bunch of individuals. This is St. Francis County. You're representative of what we have. And I want to tell you, I appreciate what you do for North County schools in particular, but I also want to tell you that I appreciate what you do for the county and the economy of this county because it allows my school system to be as successful as it is. So with that, I'll say, for having this, thank you. For doing what you do, thank you very much. And for the fact that you all are people who care about my school and the other schools in this county, along with what you have to do with your business concerns, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Foreman. I want everybody here in closing, look around the room. So I can see it up here, but I want you to look at your neighbors. And there's a common theme. Come on, look around, look at your neighbors. They're not going to bite you, I promise. There's a common theme that we can see as we're up here, and it's serving people and serving people well. That's the common denominator as I look across this room of people that are passionate about our community and about serving. So it's an honor to have each and every one of you here today. On behalf of the Deloge Chamber of Commerce and Bon Terre Chamber of Commerce, we thank you and have a great day.
See you tomorrow.